In the headlines, a video of what appears to be a searcher picking up the black box from Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 emerges. A vote is expected by the UN Security Council on a resolution that would condemn the shooting down of the plane. South Korea's defense ministry slams North Korea's claim that its missile launches were exercises of its legitimate sovereignty. And Korea's finance minister and the Bank of Korea governor hold their first meeting, promising cooperative efforts while recognizing growing downside risks.
Welcome to Primetime News, live from Seoul. I'm Sean Lim.
Thanks for tuning in. I am Kang Chae-ri. Recently, North Korea has been sort of teetering back and forth from provocation to concession and again to provocation.
The latest includes a threat of retaliation against Seoul and Washington for their condemnation of Pyongyang's recent missile tests, which the regime claims is their right of sovereignty. Our Kim Min-seok has South Korea's response.
South Korea's defense ministry has slammed the North's claim that its missile launches are exercises of legitimate sovereignty. In a regular briefing Monday, Defense Ministry Spokesman Kim Min-seok said the firing of ballistic missiles without navigational warning is being discussed at the UN Security Council as an inhuman act and that the issue is subject to international condemnation. Earlier, North Korea's powerful National Defense Commission gave Seoul and Washington an ultimatum, saying their isolating policies towards Pyongyang would be met with retaliation. Citing its recent proposals to Seoul that the two sides refrain from slandering each other, the commission said that it had done everything possible to improve inter-Korean ties and that the time had come for a final decision. The North has also flip-flopped in regards to its participation at the upcoming Asian Games, which will be hosted by the South. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Sunday highlighted cross-border reconciliation through the sporting event.
Saying the Asian Games will be an important opportunity for the two Koreas to improve ties and alleviate distrust, he added sports are sacred and should not be used as a political bargaining chip for rebellious powers.
Pyongyang state media added North Korea has decided to send a delegation of athletes to the Incheon Asian Games from September 19th to October 4th. The North's apparent flip-flopping is thought to be its way of pressuring the South to return to negotiations. But the South isn't wavering.
If North Korea really wants to participate in the Asian Games and improve inter-Korean relations, it needs to show sincerity.
The spokesman added that the North is distorting the truth by blaming Seoul for the breakdown in last week's talks. Kim Min-seok, Arirang News.
So how should we read these mixed signals from North Korea? Our Hwang Sung-hee spoke to Robert Carlin, a former U.S. State Department official who mostly dealt with North Korean affairs.
The North Koreans will never be one thing or the other. And here's the difference. Up until the point at which negotiations actually start, you'll see both streams going side by side. Once negotiations start, you'll see much less, and in some cases none at all, of these what we consider provocative actions.
You've also been holding informal talks with North Korea. Do you see any changes in perhaps their willingness to engage?
As far as you can judge, they really keep trying to figure out what it would take to get a positive response from the United States. So I don't think there's been a shift. I think they're just frustrated because they think they can't get traction.
We see China and South Korea getting close together, and on the other part, we see Japan and North Korea getting closer together. How do you assess that?
And also the Russians and the Americans not being on very good terms. It looks pretty dismal, the landscape, for putting this back together again in any way that it can be productive. So I suspect that people are going to have to think about a new forum in order to overcome these really negative trends.
So if Prime Minister Abe does visit North Korea, how will that affect the trilateral alliance between Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo?
If it were to happen tomorrow, let's say, I think it would be a shock. If it happens some point in the future after different capitals are able to consult and people get more comfortable, maybe it won't be quite as negative.
Do you think it will harm the trilateral cooperation at all?
I think it will. I think there'll be an effort to pretend that it doesn't, but in truth, I think it will be something that people will have to work very hard at to fix.
How likely is it for us to see Kim Jong-un meet with Xi Jinping or Prime Minister Abe?
I would bet that he would meet with Prime Minister Abe before he meets with Xi Jinping. It's just my sense that that's liable to happen first.
Now, moving on to other stories of the day, lawmakers opened a month-long extraordinary session on this Monday with one goal above all others, narrowing their differences and passing a bill aimed at determining what caused the April ferry disaster. Our Kim Min-seok reports.
The ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy agreed Monday to relaunch a task force whose sole responsibility will be ironing out a special bill aimed at determining the cause of April's ferry disaster. The legislation calls for the creation of a parliamentary inspection team and outlines measures to provide compensation for the families of the victims, some of whom have been on a hunger strike since last week, demanding that the bill be passed by this Thursday. For that to happen, the nation's two main political parties will first have to resolve their differences. The main opposition party wants a special judicial police officer appointed to the parliamentary inspection team to ensure the effectiveness of the investigation. The ruling party has raised concerns about the idea, saying it could disturb judicial order and the division of powers prescribed by Korea's constitution.
Our party has made new proposals to the ruling party, as it's been saying that appointing the judicial officer disturbs the judicial order, but regardless, a plenary session must open on the 24th.
The proposals given by the main opposition party could affect Korea's judicial order. We must get consent from the people. This is not a matter to be decided by a few.
The ruling party has instead proposed appointing a special prosecutor to conduct investigations at the request of the inspection team. The unified main opposition has accused the ruling party of trying to block passage of the special bill, while the ruling party is blaming the main opposition for playing politics with the issue heading into the July 30th by-elections, where 15 parliamentary seats will be decided. Kim Min-seok, Arirang News.
Korea's new finance minister sat down for talks with the chief of the nation's central bank this morning, with both agreeing that there are growing downside risks stemming largely from April's ferry tragedy. But the finance minister made it clear that any decision over the nation's key interest rate falls solely upon the central bank. Our Hwang Ji-ae has the details.
Cooperating to support the Korean economy. That's what the nation's top two economic policymakers agreed upon in their first meeting. Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan, who took office last week, met with the Bank of Korea Governor Lee Ju-yeol on Monday. They both shared views that the pace of economic recovery at home is slowing amid downside risks stemming from sluggish domestic demand, largely due to the ferry disaster in April. The two also shared concerns over structural problems within the domestic economy, such as the imbalance between the nation's exports and domestic demand, and the divide between corporate and household income. Based on that understanding, Che and Lee agreed that it's important to integrate fiscal and monetary policies to tide over the problems at hand. That, however, will be done under one precondition: respecting the unique role of the two different bodies. Finance Minister Che emphasized that a change in the nation's key interest rate is a decision that the central bank makes independently. The meeting comes amid growing speculation that the appointment of the finance minister, who's widely known to be pro-growth, may exert pressure on the central bank to cut the key rate.
While the new finance minister has not directly addressed the need for a cut, his recent remarks point to easing monetary policy to spur growth. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Leaders of Korea and Portugal held summit talks in Seoul on Monday, where economic issues topped the agenda. The presidential office of Chung Hwa-dae says the two countries signed 2 MOUs calling for increased cooperation in renewable energy and tourism. President Park Geun-hye and Portuguese President Aníbal Cavaco Silva exchanged views on how to increase bilateral cooperation in trade, investment, and information technology, and also agreed to pursue joint ventures in Portuguese-speaking countries worldwide. Here in Korea, we would normally be knee-deep in monsoon rain around now, but unfortunately, rain has been hard to come by so far this summer. And as our Connie Kim reports, the so-called dry monsoon is impacting the way Koreans are spending.
The monsoon period here in Korea, which usually falls from late June to late July, is when the nation receives about 40% of its precipitation for the whole year. But weaker than normal atmospheric pressure from the North Pacific has made for dry conditions so far this summer, and it's had a direct effect on consumer spending.
Rain boots and umbrellas are usually flying off the shelves by now, but not this year. It's a sign that consumers are adjusting to the abnormally dry weather conditions. Some 400 millimeters of rain fell on Seoul from July 1st to the 15th last year, while just 23.5 millimeters has fallen this year. As such, fewer people are buying rain boots, umbrellas, and other rain-related products, including dehumidifiers, which have been affected the most among all electric items. Sales of leisure or folding tables have jumped the most among all summer products, followed by camping and barbecue gear.
Our sales have been dominated more by people going on vacation this year. Camping tables and other related items have been quite popular.
The retail industry has also had to adjust its marketing strategies.
Compared to last year, we aren't featuring dehumidifiers or clothing that usually sells well during the monsoon period. We've cut out our coverage of these items by about 20 to 30%.
Instead, they're promoting more vacation-related products, which have enjoyed a sales boom 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. Industry insiders say some retail shops have already started focusing on their upcoming fall products, as the monsoon season isn't forecast to be as severe as in years past. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The UN Security Council is set to convene a meeting to demand international access to the crash site of Flight MH17 in eastern Ukraine, with all eyes on Russia, of course, to approve the resolution.
With more on that story, we turn now to Paul Yi at the News Center. Paul, Ukrainian rebels still remain in control of the crash site. Has there been any progress on retrieving the remains of the passengers and crew or the plane's black box?
There's been mixed results on that front. Dutch forensic experts have been allowed to begin inspecting the bodies of the victims recovered by pro-Russian separatists, the very ones who are suspected of shooting down the plane last Thursday, claiming the lives of all 298 on board. However, the rebel group appears to be keeping a firm grip on the flight data recorder. Our Son Jong-in has more.
A spokesperson for the Dutch government press service said the latest conversation between Prime Minister Mark Rutte and Russian President Vladimir Putin focused on practical matters, including the handing over of the black boxes that were seen being retrieved from the crash site. The spokesperson said Putin vowed his full cooperation in handling the case, as well as allowing unrestricted access to the site. Prime Minister of self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic Alexander Borodai said they were ready to hand the black box to the International Civil Aviation Organization.
We are keeping the black box in Donetsk. We are waiting for international civil aviation representatives to arrive.
The rebel leader also said the bodies of victims recovered from the crash site would remain in refrigerated containers at a train station in the town of Torres in the meantime. International monitors had reported that the human remains were headed to an unknown site, expressing concerns about their whereabouts. Western leaders are furious about the manhandling of corpses and are urging Putin to take serious actions in helping international rescuers bring the bodies home. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who described the scenes of separatists removing bodies as grotesque, said during an interview with CNN that the U.S. knows with confidence that Ukraine did not have a weapon capable of downing a jet. He added that it was pretty clear a missile system had been transferred from Russia. Meanwhile, an urgent vote led by Australia is expected to take place from the UN Security Council on a resolution that would condemn the shooting down of the plane and demand those responsible be held accountable. 손정인, Arirang News.
And turning now to the growing crisis in the Middle East, the UN Security Council has called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as Israel's military offensive against Hamas entered its 14th day. A Palestinian health official said Monday that a dozen Israeli tank shells hit a hospital in central Gaza, killing 4 people and wounding 60 others, including medical staff. On the Israeli side, 20 troops have been killed since last Thursday, with reports that the armed wing of the Islamist Hamas movement kidnapped an Israeli soldier. Earlier during his regional peace tour, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged Israel to exercise maximum restraint, saying that too many innocent people are dying. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has also been dispatched to Cairo for talks with Egyptian officials who have been trying to mediate a truce to the ongoing crisis. And Forbes magazine has sold a majority stake in its company to Hong Kong-based group of international investors. The agreement announced this past weekend stated that the deal would hand over Forbes Media and its affiliates to Integrated Whale Media Investments for an undisclosed sum. But an inside source, according to Bloomberg, says the transaction is valued at $475 million. If the sale goes through, Steve Forbes will remain as chairman and editor-in-chief, while the Forbes family will stay on as a minority shareholder. The deal is significant as Forbes Media is under the family's ownership for nearly a century, becoming a pioneer in American business journalism. Conditions of the agreement also stated that Forbes Media will stay an independent company with its headquarters firmly planted in New York City. And that wraps up our look at international stories making headlines around the world. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
When it gets this hot, nothing may be better than a cool movie theater. And with the Busan International Fantastic Film Festival in full swing, there's no need to settle for the ordinary. Park Ji-won joins us to tell us more. So, Ji-won, this is one of Korea's largest film festivals behind Jeonju and Busan.
That's right. Well, PFAN is Asia's largest genre film festival, one that specializes in more diverse films ranging from horror films, sci-fi, and fantasy films. Well, PFAN this year will feature 210 films from 47 countries, and this is the 18th annual edition of the festival. So let's take a closer look.
The list of fantastic film festivals begins in Europe. PFAN is similar in size to Spain's Sitges Film Festival, and we have amicable relations with them. This year we focused on discovering and introducing genre films from Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia.
From horror movies and thrillers to crime dramas and high-concept comedy, there's no shortage of choices for film lovers in Busan.
I'm a big movie fan, and this is my third time at PFAN. Although I'm not into thrillers, this film festival has its own unique attractions and colors, which is why I'm back again this year.
I'm a horror movie fan. I watch every horror movie I can find, especially anything Korean or Asian. So this is a good place to watch movies like that.
Film director Kim Min-seok, whose thriller, Nothing Lost, made this year's World Fantastic Cinema section at PFAN, is thrilled just to be there.
It's an honor that my film is being presented in PFAN's World Fantastic Cinema section, which introduces the newest genre films. I used to be a big fan of genre films and never imagined my film would be shown here.
This festival is more about more on fun and sort of an experimental film. So give us some of the recommendations that you have.
Okay, well, since the general theme of the festival is love, fantasy, and adventure, so you don't have to settle for gory films. There are a lot of other genres such as rom-com and animation, and to some other much milder films. As we can see in this main competition section films, 12 films are up for the Busan Choice Award. Well, what you're seeing right now is a film from Argentina, a melodramatic horror film titled Darkness by Day. Well, this is a love story between two vampires. And the next film that we're going to see right now here is a Chinese film delving into the world of hypnosis called The Great Hypnotist. It's about a man's mysterious and complex hypnotherapy case. It's pretty scary looking. And this is American film called Time Lapse. It's pretty highly, I would recommend, because this is the storyline is pretty imaginative. It's about a camera that takes pictures 24 hours into the future.
All right, so definitely out of the ordinary. So if you want to go in person to see these fantastic movies, can you go online, or are they all sold out?
Well, Sean, it may be a little difficult as of now to reserve tickets online because most of the films have already been sold out. But if you can arrive PFAN's ticket booth early in the morning, which opens at around 9:30 a.m. every day, 10 to 20% of tickets are left available for the day. So if you really want to watch some popular films, you need to go early and
get up early.
Right, and book the tickets. And this film festival continues until this Sunday.
All right, so this weekend we're getting up early and
driving to
get out there. All right, thank you so much for that report, Jiwon.
Hello and welcome. It's time for sports, starting with golf. Irishman Rory McIlroy hosted the Claret Jug after winning the Open Championship, or British Open, and now stands a Masters win away from a career milestone. The 25-year-old ran away with it early and held on tight in the final round to finish at 17 under par. He did just enough to hold off a run by Sergio Garcia to win his first Open title. And adding that to his wins from the 2011 U.S. Open and the 2012 PGA Championship, a Masters green jacket is all that's left for his career Grand Slam. And on to the ladies' side, 17-year-old Lydia Ko notched her fourth victory on the LPGA Tour, this time at the Marathon Classic in Ohio. Starting the final round at 5th place, she shot a total of 6 birdies on a bogey-less score sheet to finish a shot above Yoo So-yeon at 15 under par. Now, the world number 2 has been great all season long. It's her second win on the tour so far this year and her 8th top 10 finish in 16 competitions. And coming closer to home, it was day 3 of the Ansan Uricard Pro Volleyball Cup. For the ladies, Korea Expressway beat GS Caltex 3-1. For the men, meanwhile, they played in the later match. It was the Samsung Hwajae Blue Fangs taking on the Uricard Hanse. Now, the Blue Fangs win the first set by a hair and run away with the second as Park Chul-woo comes alive. Uricard naps a set, but Samsung Hwajae closes out to win 3-1. And ending off, preparations for the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics is in limbo as the head of its organizing committee, Kim Jin-sun, stepped down on Monday. Kim said in a statement that new leadership and a stronger system were needed for a successful games in 4 years' time. The 67-year-old said he was stepping down on his own will after rumors of his resignation surfaced last week. Kim was a key figure in bringing the games to Pyeongchang, Gangwon-do Province, having served various positions. And that wraps it up for now. This has been Stephen Che. I'll see you back here later for more from the world of sports.
Hello, and I'm Kim Bo-kyung with the latest weather update. It was a sweltering hot summer day here in Korea, and a heat wave alert has been issued for Gangwon-do as well as both Gyeongsang-do provinces and Daegu, and a heat wave warning is also in effect for most parts of the country. So as a result, we are in for a hot tropical night. On Tuesday, UV levels will soar to the very high range in the southern region, so children and elderly should refrain from prolonged outdoor activities. Well, a monsoonal front will gradually move in over the central regions, leading to monsoon rain. Seoul and Gyeonggi-do provinces are looking at about 20 to 60, and elsewhere about 5 to 30 millimeters. Showers in the central regions may continue through this weekend, so an umbrella will come in handy. On to Tuesday's readings. Seoul and Busan hit 29, while Daegu soars to 35. On to other places. Daejeon, Jeju, and Kumgang make it to the low 30s, while Dokdo peaks at 28. That's your weather for now, but I'll be back with more updates after midnight. See you then.
All right, thank you very much, Bo-kyung. And that's all for tonight from Primetime News. I'm Kang Tae-ri.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.